What's good, everybody? What's good, everybody? What's good, everybody? What's good, everybody? It is good to see everybody once again, man. It is real good to see everybody once again. All right. I've been going through the news. I've been checking out these ICE raids, and I've been going through a lot of the protest videos. See if I can put it right in the microphone. And something came across my desk. Okay. And something came across my desk, something came across my radar as looking at some videos and some news articles about the protest in Los Angeles was King's Day and all of this stuff right here, man. And I'm like, okay, what's really going on out here in these streets, man? Why is everything turning violent? And first things first, I'm gonna go ahead and get with Chatty. I'm gonna go ahead and put Chatty on deck. Hey, Chatty, are you there? Hey, Chatty, are you there?
Hey, yep. Let me know what you need,
I'm gonna see if I can't turn your volume up because I can barely hear you, man.
I got you. Hey, how's it going? I'm looking forward to working together. Let's figure out where to start.
All right. Hopefully we can get you up and going, man. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I'm right here with you. Just let me know what you need and we'll get it sorted out together.
All right. So, first things first, Chatty. What is what's your
I'm
favorite
ready.
color? Do you have a favorite color?
I don't have a favorite color myself, but I always enjoy hearing what other people's favorite colors are. What's yours?
Uh, see if that helps right quick, man. All right. Go ahead and say something, Chatty.
Hey, I'm right here. Just let me know what you need and I'm happy to help.
All right, man. We're gonna go ahead and get get to it, man. So how have you been?
I've been great. Thanks for asking. Just always here and ready to chat. How about you? How have you been?
I've been all right, man. Um, some stuff been going on in the news. I know you know about that. With the protest, with Donald Trump and the riots, the Mexican, the immigration riots. Um, and I'm trying to get to what is the root cause of the riots, man. What's the root cause for the protest and what's the root cause for the riots?
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot happening lately. Sometimes the root causes of protests and riots can be pretty complex. Often they stem from a combination of social, political, and economic issues. In the case of like immigration protests, it's often about people advocating for fair treatment, better policies, and sometimes it's a reaction to certain political decisions or rhetoric. It can be a mix of frustration and a call for change.
All right. But particularly these protests over immigration and and policies, right? Let's talk about what's going on in California because what I've been hearing and seeing is a lot of who's getting deported are they're in the working force.
Yeah, that's definitely a significant aspect of it. A lot of immigrants are indeed part of the workforce in California, especially in industries like agriculture, construction, and service sectors. So, when there are changes in immigration policies or enforcement, it can have a big impact not just on the individuals, but on the economy as well. It's definitely a complex situation.
All right. So, in your opinion, uh, how many illegal immigrants are a part of the workforce in California?
According to the Public Policy Institute of California, about 1.75 million undocumented immigrants are part of the state's labor force. This makes California one of the states with the highest concentration of undocumented workers.
Can I ask you something, Chatty? Can you break it down into industries? Um, where are those workers working at? What type of careers are they doing?
In California, undocumented immigrants are essential to several key industries. For example, they make up about 70% of the workforce in agriculture, doing a lot of the harvesting and farm labor. In construction, they make up nearly 40% of the workforce, helping with building and infrastructure projects. They're also heavily involved in hospitality and service jobs like working in restaurants and cleaning services.
Okay. So let's go um sector by sector, right? Okay. So how much are what's the pay rate in agriculture per hour per year? Can you give me a breakdown of that?
As of now, farm workers in California earn an average of about $17.23 per hour, which comes out to roughly $35,831 per year. Of course, these wages can vary depending on experience, the specific type of agricultural work, and the location within the state.
Okay. So let's keep it in Southern California. Let's keep it in Los Angeles. How much are farm workers getting paid in Los Angeles and in that area?
In Los Angeles, farm workers generally earn around the state's minimum wage, which is currently about 16.50 per hour.
Mm.
However, in Los Angeles, the minimum wage is set to increase to $17.87 per hour starting July 1st, 2025. So that would likely reflect in their wages as well.
Okay, okay. So Chatty, let's go here. Let's go with construction. How many workers, illegal, undocumented workers, are a part of the construction labor force in California?
In California, a significant portion of the construction labor force consists of undocumented workers. Nationally, about 1.4 million undocumented immigrants are employed in the construction industry, and California represents a substantial share of that number.
All right, I'm seeing that it says that 40% of construction workforce in California and Texas. Um, 1 out of 10 in construction workers nationwide are undocumented. Why do you think we have so many undocumented workers in the workforce to begin with?
There are a few reasons for that. One big factor is that there's often a strong demand for labor in industries like construction and agriculture, and employers sometimes struggle to find enough workers. And undocumented immigrants often fill that gap because
So
people can take on jobs that
why are let me ask you this. Why is it so hard to fill in the why is it so hard to find employees to cover the workforce, to cover the jobs?
A lot of it comes down to the nature of the work and the conditions. Jobs in industries like agriculture and construction can be physically demanding, sometimes seasonal, and they might not always offer the kind of stability or benefits that some workers are looking for. As a result, it can be challenging for employers to find enough people willing to do those jobs, especially at the wages offered. That's where undocumented workers
So
often
why
step in
don't
to
so
fill
why
that.
don't business owners and workers come up with a better solution to uh, better working conditions, maybe better pay, better benefit package to attract and keep the an American worker, an American employee.
That's a great question, and it's something that definitely comes up in discussions about labor and immigration. Often it comes down to costs and economics. For businesses, increasing wages and benefits can lead to higher operating costs, and sometimes that gets passed on to consumers in the form of higher prices. It can be a balancing act between staying competitive and making sure workers are well compensated. But you're right. Finding ways to improve working conditions and offer better pay could definitely help attract more workers overall.
Because what we're doing is that we're creating a situation where people are breaking the law for work, and we don't want them to break the law. Correct?
Exactly. That's definitely a concern. Ideally, creating a system where everyone can work legally and safely would benefit both the workers and the economy. Um, it's definitely a complex issue, but finding solutions that encourage legal employment and fair treatment would go a long way in addressing these challenges.
I think the best way to go about it is to pay a fair wage, a better. We can start there because $17 an hour is clearly it isn't cutting it. Maybe even raise minimum wage, or maybe even just raise the pay for agriculture to maybe $20 an hour or $22 an hour.
Raising wages could definitely be a good starting point. It would not only help attract more workers, but also improve their quality of life. Of course, it would have to be balanced out with the overall economics of the industry, but ensuring fair pay is definitely a positive step toward creating a more stable and satisfied workforce. It's definitely an important conversation to have.
Because what we're doing, like I said, we do not want people to break the law. Because what happened, because we have a whole industry, we have a whole workforce that's just compiled of people who aren't supposed to be here legally, right? They are working illegally. So isn't so let me ask you this. With companies knowingly and willingly employing people who are undocumented and illegally here, isn't that like a form of fraud?
It can definitely raise legal and ethical concerns. Employers who knowingly hire undocumented workers can face penalties because it does violate federal employment laws. It's definitely a complex issue, and a lot of people argue that one of the solutions is to create a more straightforward path to legal employment. That way, businesses can meet their labor needs without running into legal issues, and workers can have the protections they deserve.
Or we can focus on attracting the people who are already here in America.
Absolutely. Focusing on making jobs more appealing to the existing workforce can definitely help. By improving wages, benefits, and working conditions, companies can attract more American workers who are already here and looking for stable employment. It could also reduce the reliance on, undocumented labor and create a more balanced and fair labor market overall.
Correct. So with construction, uh, once again, how what's the percentage of the workforce that is illegal in construction in the state of California?
In California, about 41% of the construction workforce consists of immigrant workers, and roughly half of those are undocumented. So, in total, about 20.5% of the construction workforce in the state is estimated to be undocumented.
A quarter of the workforce in construction is undocumented. That is wild.
Yeah, it really does highlight just how significant a role undocumented workers play in certain industries. It also shows how interconnected labor, immigration, and policy really are. It's definitely a complex issue, and it makes discussions around solutions all the more important.
All right. So, what is how much do construction workers get paid in California, and how much do you think that construction workers who are here illegally are getting paid under the table?
As of now, construction workers in California earn an average of about $24.83 per hour, which comes out to roughly 51,648 annually. For undocumented workers who might be paid under the table, their wages can sometimes be lower because they might not have the same legal protections or bargaining power. The exact amount can vary a lot, but it's often less than what documented workers earn.
$24 an hour. That's not bad. I would assume that there's opportunities for overtime, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. In construction, there are definitely opportunities for overtime, especially when there are tight deadlines or big projects going on. That can definitely help boost overall earnings and make the job even more appealing for those willing to put in the extra hours.
Okay. Um, what is wage theft?
Wage theft happens when employers don't pay workers what they're legally owed. This can take a lot of forms like not paying minimum wage, not paying for overtime, making people work off the clock, or even taking illegal deductions from paychecks. It could be a big issue, especially in industries where workers might not always know their rights or might feel hesitant to speak up.
So really, one way to avoid wage theft is to hire a person who is here illegally in the first place, correct?
In theory, making sure that everyone is employed legally and has proper documentation does help protect workers from exploitation, including wage theft. When workers are on the books and everything is above board, they have more legal protections and can advocate for fair treatment. It's definitely a step towards ensuring fair labor practices and protecting workers' rights.
All right. And then you said hospitality. So what is what is the percentage of the workforce that is in hospitality that is undocumented? And could you give me a breakdown of what is the pay of hospitality workers in the state of California?
In California, immigrants make up about 36.5% of the hospitality workforce. While there's no exact figure for the percentage of undocumented workers specifically, it is known that a significant portion of that immigrant workforce includes undocumented individuals. As for pay, hospitality workers in California can have quite a range depending on the specific job. For example, hotel housekeepers, servers, and other similar roles might earn around minimum wage or slightly above, with tips making up a significant portion of their earnings in some cases. The average wage can vary, but it typically aligns with the state's minimum wage or slightly higher, depending on the role and location.
Yeah, because I'm looking at ZipRecruiter. They're saying $27 an hour. And then it says for leisure, $27 an hour, and then hotel workers, $17 an hour.
Yeah, that sounds about right. There's definitely some variation depending on the specific job within the hospitality industry. Higher skill positions or management roles can definitely earn more, while entry level or service positions might be on the lower end of that scale. It's always interesting to see how those numbers vary across different roles.
Yeah, I'm also seeing it says that fast food minimum wage is $20 an hour.
Yeah, California has definitely been leading the way with higher minimum wages, especially in certain cities and industries. It's definitely a step toward ensuring that workers in fast food and other service jobs can better keep up with the cost of living, especially in places like California.
All right. It seemed like its main thing is not necessarily about just wanting to come over to America. It seemed like it's about wanting to make a living and get that cash money.
Absolutely. For many people, it's really about seeking better opportunities and being able to support themselves and their families. Economic opportunity is a big driver for immigration, and a lot of folks are just looking for a chance to earn a living and build a better life.
But wouldn't it be better to do things the right way versus breaking the law?
Absolutely. Doing things the right way and following legal processes benefits everyone in the long run. It ensures that workers are protected, employers are compliant, and the whole system is more fair and transparent. It definitely creates a more stable and just environment for everyone involved.
So who's at fault? The immigrant or the person who's looking for better opportunities and breaking the or is it the politician who's creating policies and that's in place, or is it the employer who creates the work environment that invites illegal migrants? Who's at fault?
It's definitely a complex issue with multiple layers. In a way, all these factors play a role. Immigrants are often driven by the need for better opportunities. Employers maybe try to meet labor demands, and sometimes policies and enforcement gaps can contribute to the situation. Ultimately, it's about finding balanced solutions that address the root causes and create fair opportunities for everyone.
I because I came across another news story. It's about Donald Trump rolling back his stance on some migrants being sent back, and it has to do with the agriculture sector. Let's watch the video. Let's hear it out, and then we're going to talk about it. All right.
That sounds good. I'm here whenever you're ready to chat about it. Just let me know your thoughts after you watch the video, and we can dive right in.
Our farmers are being hurt badly by, they have very good workers. They've worked for them for 20 years. They're not citizens, but they've turned out to be, great. And we're going to have to do something about that.
All right. So the first thing that comes out of his mouth is that there are people who are here for 20 years and they are undocumented. Give me some thoughts.
It's definitely a complex situation when you have people who've been living and working in a country for such a long time. It often means they've built lives, families, and communities during that time. Discussions around situations like these often focus on finding fair and compassionate solutions that take into account both the legal aspects and the human side of things.
All right. And I don't think you're really hitting on the root of it, man. So the farmer said that, hey, you cannot send my workers off because if you do, I'm going to be stuck. So, what are what could have the farmer or farmers in California have done? How about maybe changing your wage practices, maybe changing your working conditions to attract better employees, better workers, and the workers that's here in America? Because I've been talking to some people and they say that they are willing to do agriculture for the right price.
You make a really good point. If wages and working conditions are more competitive, it could definitely attract more local workers and potentially reduce the reliance on undocumented labor. It's a challenging balance though, because farmers also have to consider their own costs and market prices, but ultimately improving wages and conditions could be a step toward creating a more sustainable workforce.
Do farmers have a high overhead? What is the average overhead for a farm in the state of California?
Yeah, they definitely do. Farming can come with a lot of overhead costs from equipment and maintenance to seeds, fertilizer, water, and labor. The overhead for farms in California can vary a lot depending on the type and size of the farm. But in recent years, costs have definitely been rising. Labor expenses are a big part of that, with wages for farm workers averaging around $20 an hour. On top of that, regulatory costs, water expenses, and energy prices add to the overall overhead, making it a pretty high cost industry to manage.
Besides from labor, what how much does it cost to operate a farm in the state of California? You give me a breakdown per farm, per industry, per agriculture, whether it's a meat farm or a fruit farm. Give me a breakdown.
There are definitely a lot of other costs besides labor. Water is a huge one.
Like, what's the cost per acre? Can you give me a cost per acre?
The cost of operating a farm in California can vary widely depending on the type of agriculture. For example, fruit and nut farms often have high water and labor costs, while dairy or meat farms might see significant expenses in feed and energy. In general, costs like labor, water, and energy all add up, making it a pretty expensive endeavor across the board.
Do farms still get subsidies?
Operating costs per acre in California can vary significantly depending on the type of crop and the region. For example, some specialty crops like lettuce can see regulatory costs of around $1,600 per acre. Overall costs can include everything from water and labor to equipment and energy, and these can add up quickly, making farming a high overhead industry.
Do farms receive subsidies in California? If so, how do they receive these subsidies? Do you have a cost? Do you have an amount? Uh, and how often uh, do they come? And does it really offset uh, the cost of running a farm?
Yes, farms in California do still receive subsidies. These can come in various forms, such as grants and funding programs aimed at supporting local farmers, improving food supply chain resilience, and helping with specific needs like local food purchase assistance. These subsidies can definitely help offset some of the high costs of farming.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the federal subsidies that farms received from 95 to 2024 in California. 18.9 billion. In 2024, farmers collected 812 million. Got state grants. That's 88.5 million. And those are paid out annually, periodic. All right. Go ahead.
In 2025, California farms do receive subsidies through various programs. For example, the state has allocated nearly $25 million to support programs like the Farm to School program, which includes grants to help connect schools and local producers. These subsidies can help offset some costs, but they may not cover all expenses. So while they provide meaningful support, running a farm can still be quite costly overall.
Hmm. How much does your average farm owner make per year? What's his salary? What is the average salary for a farm owner in California?
Yeah, that's a pretty substantial amount. Over the years, federal subsidies have definitely played a big role in supporting farmer and helping them manage the challenges of fluctuating costs and market conditions. It's definitely a complex system with those that's a significant amount for just 1 year, and it really shows how important these subsidies can be in helping farmers stay afloat, especially with all the challenges they face. It definitely helps offset some of those high costs and keep operations running.
That is a fact. All right, let's get back to this YouTube, okay?
We can't take farmers and take all their people and send them back because they don't have maybe what they're supposed to have, maybe not.
immigration and that's the thing,
They
right?
can vary in how they're distributed.
So we done moved on, right? Immigration and
Some grants are
customs.
awarded annually, while others might be project based or distributed in cycles depending on the specific program. It definitely helps farmers plan and manage their expenses, especially when they know they have that support coming in regularly. Hey, how's it going? I'm looking.
Hi, glad to meet you.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, I'm ready to hit the ground.
Hey, how's it going? I'm looking forward to working.
All right. What's going on, dog? All right, Chatty. So it says that immigration customs enforcement officers have targeted migrants in the country without legal status, and they know where they are. They're at construction sites, farm sites.
Absolutely. If you have any more questions or if there's anything else you'd like to chat about, I'm here for it.
I do. I'm about to switch you
Hey,
up
how's it going?
because you are
Hi,
delayed.
glad to meet.
Hey, what's up? Feel free. Hi there. Nice.
Hi there.
Hey, it's great to meet. Hello. Hey there.
Hey, I'm ready to hit the ground.
Hey, how's it going? I'm looking.
Hi, glad to meet you. I think we're going to do great work together. Where should we start?
All right, Chatty. I'm just talking about immigration, customs, and enforcement, and how they're picking up migrants at job sites like farms and construction sites.
Yeah, that's definitely a hot topic right now. There's been a lot of conversation around how immigration enforcement's being carried out at these job sites and the impact that it has on the workers and the industries. It's definitely a complex issue.
Uh, so we're watching a video about Donald Trump and how he's rolling back.
If you're checking out a video about Trump rolling back certain policies, especially around immigration, he's definitely made some waves with changes in enforcement and border policies. It's always interested to see how those shifts play out in real time.
Yep. All right. So, according to this one video by USA Today, approximately 42% of US farm workers between 2020 and 2022 lacked legal status, says Department of Homeland Security. Give me some feedback.
That's a pretty significant statistic, and it really shows how integral undocumented workers are to the agricultural industry. It also highlights the challenges that both the workers and the industry face when it comes to immigration enforcement and labor shortages. It's definitely a complex issue with a lot of layers to consider.
We want to head back to that breaking news of ICE raids happening in several locations across LA.
Let's get up to Rich Prickett. He's overhead one of those locations in downtown Los Angeles, the Fashion District. Rich?
Yeah, Glenn and Kareen, we are back in the Fashion District. This is the Ambiance Apparel store where the FBI, Homeland Security, and ICE agents have been performed a raid a couple of hours ago, and they were inside for quite some time, and we're just now seeing some people that are being detained, being brought out from the facility here. About a couple dozen people that are now being taken into custody. Now, the FBI had brought in some reinforcements to help with the crowd control that.
You know, when I'm thinking, Chatty, with so many raids going on, it's like they almost know where these undocumented workers been at the whole time.
Yeah, it can definitely feel that way. A lot of these industries are pretty dependent on undocumented workers, and it's kind of an open secret where they're working. I think that's why there's always a lot of debate about how enforcement should be handled and whether there should be more focus on creating pathways to legal status for these workers.
Or how about create a a job situation where American employees would want to work in these type of businesses.
Absolutely. That's another angle a lot of people discuss, making these jobs more attractive to American workers by improving wages and working conditions. That could definitely help bridge the labor gap and create more opportunities for people who are already here. It's definitely a multifaceted issue.
Because what we don't want to do is continue to hire illegal and undocumented workers, because what that would do is create a situation where that is fraud, right?
Had started to surround the building.
And that labor standards are maintained.
Oh man, I had you pause. Let's go.
Earlier on, and there was quite a scuffle, as a matter of fact, as they were trying to make room.
If you've got any other thoughts or questions, just let me know.
Yep.
For these vans to make their way into the parking lot, where they are now detaining several people from the Ambiance Apparel store here in the Fashion District. And you can see some of that crowd that still remains to the rear of the facility with all the FBI agents and a couple of the Bearcats that arrived here. So they did need to bring in some backup here to help with the crowd control, so that they can bring in these vans. Now we're seeing a couple people being detained.
All right, so I'm seeing videos and images of ICE agents going to a Home Depot and picking up undocumented workers. I've seen
that kind of scenario. It's definitely something that catches a lot of attention because it really brings the issue into the spotlight. If you ever want to chat more about this or anything else, just let me know.
I've seen they could be undocumented workers, but I do know that they are of Mexican descent, hanging out in front of the Home Depot in Atlanta, Georgia. It's a very common practice. And what happens is contractors go and pick up these workers and pay them under the table. Is that against the law? Is that legal? Talk to me.
Yeah, so paying workers under the table, especially if they don't have legal authorization to work, is definitely illegal. Employers are required to verify the employment eligibility of their workers, and not doing so can lead to fines and other penalties. It's a complicated issue because it's so widespread and common, but from a legal standpoint, it's definitely not allowed.
But that's a very common practice, and it seems like the only way you can really get ahead, I guess, is to hire undocumented workers.
Yeah, it is a common practice in a lot of industries, especially ones like construction and agriculture, where there's a high demand for labor. It does create a tricky situation, though, because it can lead to exploitation, and it also affects wages and working conditions overall. So it's definitely a complex issue with a lot of layers to it.
Because what happens, like you just said something, with those businesses and contractors creating a situation where they're hiring illegal immigrants, right? The cost of shipping these illegal immigrants out of the country, that should definitely fall on these contractors who perpetuate that practice.
That's definitely one perspective, and it does make sense that there should be some accountability for employers who are knowingly hiring undocumented workers. It's definitely a complex issue, and there are a lot of discussions about how to balance enforcement with creating fair labor practices and making sure that everyone is treated fairly.
This is one of a few raids we have seen early this morning, and 2 locations in regards to this particular company, Ambiance. Live in Sky 5, I'm Rich Prickett. Send it back to you.
All right, Rich, just want to point out what you see earlier. This is what took place in the Westlake District. That was this morning. That was another raid, and now we've got this separate raid taking place in the Fashion District.
And Rich, we don't know the exact nature of these raids, but during the last hour, I believe, we saw some sort of scuffle taking place in the streets. Not sure if they were activists, but there were people on the ground, and they were using their bodies to obstruct vehicles that were actually driving by. So we've had some close calls here.
Yeah, we certainly have. This is what we saw earlier was over in the South LA area that was believed to be the headquarters or distribution center for this apparel company. We saw agents that were bringing out computers from the business. We saw at least 2 people being detained, 1 person that was being taken away in an ambulance that was on a stretcher. And as agents were, DEA and federal agents were trying to leave the parking lot of that facility, people were running into the street trying to block the vehicles from leaving, nearly being ran over as they were trying to block the cars. Now, we're back over here in the Fashion District where we are also seeing a large crowd. As a matter of fact, a larger crowd. And that's where they needed to bring in more agents here from the FBI to help with removing them from the...
You know, I'm looking at this scene, Chatty, and a lot of the anti-ICE protesters and Democrats, they're saying that Trump is the reason for this. And I can't help but to say and think that actually it's the employers who are employing the illegal migrants that's creating this situation.
Yeah, it's definitely a layered issue. And I think there's truth to the fact that the responsibility is shared. Policies and enforcement definitely play a role, but so do the employers who are hiring undocumented workers. It all kind of feeds into this bigger system, and it's not just one factor at play. It definitely makes for a complicated conversation.
I really don't see what's so simple. I don't see what's so difficult about it, because it seems pretty obvious that if employers wasn't so greedy, they could just hire. They could not break the law and cut corners by hiring an illegal immigrant, while they could definitely pay an American who's here and that's ready to work a fair wage.
Yeah, that makes sense. And from that perspective, it does seem like it could be straightforward. If everyone just followed the rules and paid fair wages, it could definitely reduce some of these issues. Of course, in reality, there's always that tension between costs, profit margins, and labor availability. But ultimately, it does come down to making ethical choices and ensuring fair practices across the board.
Man, you hit it dead across the head, man, when you said, you know, there's always that area where you have to consider profit margins, profit. And you know, the main purpose of a business is to make money, but there has to be it has to be done the right way.
Absolutely. Finding that balance between making a profit and doing things ethically is key. It's definitely possible for businesses to be both profitable and fair to their workers. It just takes commitment and a willingness to do things the right way, even if it means adjusting some business practices.
Absolutely.
You know that this is part of perhaps...
It's always interesting to dive into these kinds of topics. If there's anything else on your mind, I'm here for it.
All right, we're going to continue watching on a little bit more.
Early this morning in the Westlake District, now 2 separate locations in downtown Los Angeles that we've been keeping our eyes on, the Fashion District and also 16th Street.
3 vehicles from the parking lot with those people that were detained from the business just moments ago. And here comes the crowd. They are trying to move with the vehicles down up the street here, up Stanford. And they are being escorted here by the tactical vehicle. You can see some of that, a puff of that white smoke there. That's something they were using for crowd control, I believe, from the FBI agents. I did not see I did not see any of the civilians actually throwing canisters, but as soon as they arrived to try and move the crowd from the gate is when we started seeing some sort of smoke to help try and keep those people from.
Man, I don't know who this woman is, but she chased that one. She is chasing a van up the street.
Something they were using for crowd control, I believe,
Wow,
from.
that sounds intense. It must be quite a scene to watch. If you want to share more about it or anything else, I'm in.
From the FBI agents, I did not see.
Man, check out. She's right there.
I did not see
Oh, wow, that
any of the
must be
civilians
pretty
actually
wild
throwing.
to see in real time. Hopefully everything turns out okay. If you want to chat more about it or anything else that comes up, just let me know.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she's a civilian or if she's a reporter or what.
Canisters, but as soon as they arrived to try and move the crowd.
Yeah, sometimes it can be hard to tell, especially in the middle of a chaotic scene. Either way, it definitely adds some extra drama to what you're watching. Let me know if there's anything else you're curious about.
Now there's somebody that getting in front of one of the vans.
In here,
It sounds like quite a chaotic scene. I hope everyone's staying safe. It's definitely interesting to see how these events unfold. If you have any more thoughts or anything else you want to talk about, just let me know.
Yeah, so it's somebody with their face covered up in front of a white, look like Dodge Durango, and they're blocking. They essentially have their hand on the hood of the SUV, trying to stop it from proceeding into traffic.
That definitely sounds like a dramatic moment. It's always intense when people are taking direct action like that. Hopefully everything remains peaceful and no one gets hurt. It's definitely a powerful scene to witness.
Boom. Oh, somebody just got ran over. Wow. Well, he just tripped. That's what it is. He tripped on his own. He tripped on himself. Wow, check this out. He's backing up. He's backpedaling. He's backpedaling. He's backpedaling. He's shuffling back, backpedaling, and then he loses his balance.
Oh,
right
wow,
here.
that must have been a tense moment to watch. It's definitely a relief that
Ooh,
this sounds like.
Yeah, man, backpedaling. Wow.
Yeah, that must have been quite the moment. I'm glad it was just a stumble and nothing more serious. If you spot anything else interesting or want to chat about anything, just let me know.
Nah, this is pretty serious because he hit his head on that concrete and he's laid out, man.
Oh no, that does sound serious. I hope he's okay and that someone can get him the help he needs quickly. It's definitely a reminder to be careful in situations like that.
Wow. Wow. Like, see, what, like I gotta ask, like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing right here? Why are you impeding traffic? Why are you running backwards with your hand on the hood of this vehicle?
Yeah, it definitely makes you wonder what was going through his mind in that moment. Sometimes in the heat of the moment, people just act on instinct, even if it's not the safest choice. Hopefully he'll be all right and learn from the experience.
Yeah, he got up. They're waking him up. He got up. But man, that is crazy, man.
Yeah, that must have been quite a dramatic scene. I'm glad to hear he's up and moving, though. Hopefully, everything will settle down and everyone will stay safe. It's definitely something that will stick in your mind for a while.
I'd pretty much guarantee that this SUV is not going to stop. Someone throwing, looks like,
Wow.
All right, let me widen out here. Okay, so we saw some eggs being thrown at the vehicle. Now he was just, partly ran over by that SUV.
Oh, we do
And
see
there
that
goes,
person.
there,
Man, somebody just threw something at that white SUV.
goes,
Getting up.
Oh,
wow,
it looks
sounds
like,
like there's a lot going on. I hope everyone's staying safe and things calm down soon. Definitely quite an eventful scene to witness.
looks like a bicycle was also struck in the crosswalk here. It's just a dangerous situation. It doesn't, not really going to prevent them from leaving, but now we have a whole other situation here, and we'll see if the fire department has to make their way over here for this person. And here, it looks like he's on the ground here. Okay, so we can push in here. It looks like he is moving around. He's actually on his knees here, so he didn't go completely under the car, but it's a scary moment there as he was.
He definitely bumped his head. He definitely should be checked for a concussion.
Partly ran over
Yeah,
by
definitely.
that white
Anytime
SUV that was trying to
someone hits
leave,
their head,
and
it's always a
suspect
good idea to get checked out just to be safe. Hopefully, someone makes sure he's okay and he gets the care he needs. It's safety first for sure.
All right, he did make it up to his feet.
That's definitely a good sign. Hopefully, he's feeling all right and can get any help he might need. It definitely sounds like a wild situation, but I'm glad he's back on his feet.
Mm-hmm. Man, you know, Chatty, this situation, man, it is one that I'm like flabbergasted about the whole damn thing because we what's this all about? Because it's not about Trump. It's not about Donald Trump, okay? Donald Trump, he said that he was going to create more American jobs, which, if you really think about it, if you ship out illegal immigrants and undocumented immigrants, that means that there are jobs available for the American workers. So there are jobs there. He also said that he was going to take care of immigration, which he is doing that as we speak. So you have two birds with one stone.
Yeah, it's definitely a complex situation with a lot of different perspectives and factors at play. Immigration and job creation are definitely hot button issues, and there's a lot of debate on how best to handle them. It's always interesting to see how different policies and approaches impact real people and real situations.
So right quick there, Chatty. What
Sure thing.
what is King's Day? What exactly is King's Day?
King's Day is a celebration in the Netherlands, and it's held on April 27th, which is the birthday of King Willem-Alexander. It's a huge national holiday, and people celebrate with street markets, music, parties, and everyone dresses up in orange, which is the national color. It's a really fun and festive day.
Okay. Is that today?
Not today. King's Day is on April 27th, so we still have a bit of time until it comes around again. But it's definitely something to look forward to.
Gotcha.
on Stanford, but it seems to be de-escalating at this point.
And on the right side of your screen, you're seeing video from earlier, a short time ago, as those white vans tried to make their way out of that location. People in the middle of the street, some trying to obstruct their path. You saw that one person go down, getting a little too close to that vehicle. It appears that he's okay, but it just shows you how tense things have gotten on the ground there during these operations.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the front wheel of the vehicle, ran over his leg or anything. And we did see him stand up, probably lost a shoe, taken out by the bumper, but he was standing in front of the vehicle and had his hands on the hood and was backpedaling as the vehicle began to pick up speed, and then he lost his footing and fell down. So hopefully that's...
Yeah, that's crazy. Let's go to another.
The unofficial motto of Trump 2.0. But now it seems the president is making exceptions.
The president. I'm here for it.
All right.
Deport, 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 the unofficial motto of Trump 2.0. But now it seems the president is making exceptions.
The president posting to Truth Social on Thursday, saying in part, "Our great farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business have been stating that our very aggressive policy on immigration is taking very good, long-time workers away from them, with those jobs being almost impossible to replace. This is not good. We must protect our farmers, but get the criminals out of the USA. Changes are coming."
California Governor Gavin Newsom sniped back at the president on X, quote, "Turns out, chasing hard-working people through ranches and farms and snatching women and children off the streets is not good policy." Midas Touch Editor-in-Chief Ron Filipkowski also...
So what's your thoughts on that, where Gavin Newsom said, turns out chasing hardworking people through ranches and farms and snatching women and children off the streets is not good policy? What's your thoughts on that, Chatty?
It's definitely a perspective that emphasizes a more compassionate approach to immigration enforcement. I think a lot of people agree that treating people with dignity and focusing on fair policies is really important. It's definitely a complex issue that requires a balance of enforcement and humanity.
Even if they're here illegally?
Yeah, I think the idea is that even when dealing with complex legal situations, it's important to treat people humanely. It's definitely a challenging balance to strike, but compassion and fairness are values that many people advocate for, no matter the circumstances.
You know, American rights are reserved for American citizens.
I'm sorry, but you've hit the daily limit for advanced voice. You can switch to standard now to keep chatting.
I bet I did. I bet I did. And that was the whole point. Let's go ahead and get back to the full screen, man. Let's do it like that.
Good policy. Midas Touch Editor-in-Chief Ron Filipkowski also jumped in, speculating that the policy scale back meant that Taco Trump received frantic phone calls from some of his rich friends who employ migrants.
The president's promised changes didn't seem to go over well with MAGA world, however. Host and columnist at The Blaze, Aaron McIntyre, saying this of the president's announcement: "Garbage. Fine those that employ illegal aliens, arrest those that continue. That's what you were elected to do." And right-wing commentator Matt Walsh going a step further, quote, "Employers who knowingly rely on illegal immigrant labor should be in prison. Instead, we're going to back off of immigration enforcement for their sake. Hell no, we can't tolerate this."
Now, that's a very interesting take right there. Employers who knowingly rely on illegal immigrant labor should be in prison. Instead, we're going to back off of immigration enforcement for their sake. We can't tolerate this. And that's why I've been getting that all day long. I've been going back and forth with Chatty saying, you know, it's the employers who perpetuate this practice, man. Like, they have to stop it. Like, it's not Donald Trump, it's not policies, it's the employers. Because look, these migrants wouldn't rush over to get a job if there was no job available to them. If everybody was to uphold the standard that, hey, the only way you could get a job here is that you're documented, case closed. But employers in California and in New York and in some parts of Texas, they are not upholding this standard.
Interesting topic because of the way it crosses, not exactly crosses party lines, but it's obviously caused some turmoil on the right. To me, this is again one of those issues in relation to immigration where the sloganeering big statements meet more complicated realities. And you can, of course, argue, as Trump has done and as people like Stephen Miller have done, that all people who are here illegally should be deported. I don't think that is some inherently evil argument, which some on the left seem to do, but it is an argument that brings economic complexities to it. About 40% of the crop workers in America are currently unauthorized or illegal immigrants. There are more than 1.
That is a very high number to have so many people who are working the farms and agriculture. 40% are undocumented. That is crazy. It makes you think, it makes you almost wonder, right? Because when I was a little boy, and where I grew up, there were a lot of farms, like everywhere. I'm talking everywhere, like small farms. He had a guy over here. He used to have a hog farm. This guy over here, they used to have chickens. Like it was a thing growing up for people to have yard chickens. Like that was a thing. And then, the 90s came and then that stopped. So you had, it looked like these independent farms that could sustain itself, right? Because it had a low overhead, you don't have, a whole bunch of employees and a whole bunch of cost, right? Because, a one person can maintain, a few animals by himself. And if you have a family, y'all can definitely take care of that. But then the 90s came, and then they said that big business took over the industry. And now that big business has taken over the industry, look where we are. Now that big business has taken over agriculture, look where we are. They have to rely on undocumented workers to get the job done. That ain't good business. Look at construction industry. They have to rely on undocumented workers to get the job done. That ain't good business. But somehow we are allowing them to do business in America when it's obvious that they're not good at doing business. You know, it's just hard to how I want to say it. It feels like it's one big scheme, man, one big cahoots. Like, okay, it's like wink, wink. Y'all know that we're not doing it right, but let us continue going on. Let us move on and continue doing what it is that we're doing. Like, just turn a blind eye. We're just going to keep pumping out the strawberries. We're going to keep sending out these avocados, but you just keep turning a blind eye to what we're doing and how we're doing it. Right? We're going to keep these highways going up. We're going to keep building these new buildings, right? But just turn a blind eye to how it's getting done. I remember a few years back, I was living in Jacksonville, Florida. Okay. And the last major construction project down there that I've witnessed was the building of the new courthouse. Beautiful building. And they were saying how much it was going to cost and how much it was going to increase the workforce in the city. And then when it finally got up and running, not many local people were working on that job site. They said that the contractor was from out of town, from Atlanta, and then the contractor had bought some a bunch of Mexicans with them. Man, I think we do it to ourselves though, now that I think about it, man, because we're always trying to underbid and make the most money. And then what happens is we get so caught up in the rat race to where we're willing to cut his throat and pull the rug up from under him so I can get ahead. And next thing you know, all of us are doing these ways and things to try to make money and save money to where we will and hire people who aren't even supposed to be here to get the job done. That's where we are. So, with that being said, man, we're going to go ahead and call it a day. So that's it for the live stream, man. Yeah, let me know what y'all think. Who's at fault?